Welcome back to the show, The Basic as Cooking Show. Today I'm going to show you how to make a very simple red velvet cake. This is a beautiful cake to make during the holiday season because you can make it as red as you would like. And I will show you a couple of baking hacks while I make this cake. So let's get started. I will leave a link to the recipe down below. To get started, I'm going to make my homemade buttermilk. So for this recipe, I need a full cup of milk. So I am going to use some plain whole milk, and this is just a little hack that you can definitely follow in order to make your milk, your buttermilk. So I'm going to take my 1 cup of whole milk and put it into the container. And then I'm going to take some plain white distilled vinegar and I'm going to add a tablespoon of it. It's important to do this at the beginning of your baking activities so the milk has time to sit and curdle. So you just put your vinegar in here and stir it around. You're going to set it aside while you do the rest of this. You can use this hack instead of buying buttermilk. I oftentimes do not have buttermilk at home, so this is like a way to make curdled buttermilk with the same level of acidity that you need for the cake. So I'm going to set this aside. The next thing to do is to start with your eggs. So this cake uses whipped eggs as one of the leaveners. Leavener meaning it makes the cake rise. So I'm going to now separate my eggs. My eggs are in the water because they were cold when I started to get ready to film this. And I put them in the warm water and let them just slowly warm up until it's time for me to use them. So now I actually need 2 containers. So now I'm going to separate my eggs into white and yolks. And you can use an egg separator if you have one. I don't have one, so I am just popping the eggs in my hand, and that allows me to let the white drain through my fingers, but also lets me catch any any shell that may be a little bit rogue as I crack the eggs. So you do want to be as careful as you can to just put only the egg whites in one bowl. It's okay to put some of the egg whites with the yolks, but you do want all egg whites at least in one bowl. I hope that makes sense. And the reason why you need only egg whites in this bowl is because we're going to beat them. And if you have egg yolk in your egg white, then the egg whites will not beat up properly. Okay, this egg had 2 yolks. How fun. Now we're ready to beat our egg whites. So I am going to use a whisk in my this kind of mixer, my stand mixer. You can also use a hand mixer, or you can beat them by hand if you feel so inclined. I forgot to mention that I have my oven preheating to 350, so make sure you do that at this point or before you get started. So now I'm going to beat these until they form soft peaks. While the egg whites are beating up, I'm going to assemble the dry ingredients. So first, I'm putting the flour into a bowl. Next, I'm adding the cornstarch. And check the description box for the recipe. Next is the baking soda. And then the cocoa powder. A red velvet cake is really just a red chocolate cake, FYI. And next, I'm adding the salt. Get a whisk and mix it all together. So now I'm going to disassemble my mixer here and show you the egg whites. So you can see that they are soft peaks. That might be a firm peak, but you can see that they are mixed. They're whisked very well. So we have our eggs right here. So I'm going to set this aside for just a moment as well. Now I'm going to move on to beating and creaming my butter. So I have 8 tablespoons of butter. And again, I am doubling the recipe that is linked below. So I have my 8 tablespoons of butter, which is 1 whole stick. And now I am going to add 2 cups of granulated sugar. So I have my plain old granulated sugar, and we need 2 cups. And this method is called creaming. You're beating your butter so it's nice and fluffy. And I want to turn on the mixer and, oops. I'm going to turn on the mixer and cream the butter and sugar together. And you need a paddle for this, not a whisk. The butter has been beating for about 2 minutes. I am now going to add the oil. This is what your mixture should look like at this point. This is the oil and the butter and the sugar. Now we're ready to beat in the eggs and the vanilla. So you should have 4, not 5 egg yolks. But if you are lucky and you get an extra egg yolk, it is totally fine. Just put them all in there. So I have my egg yolks and I'm going to start to beat those in. And I'm also now going to add my vanilla. So I will need 4 teaspoons of vanilla. I'm going to turn this off while I do this so I don't get splashed with vanilla. 2, 3, and 4. So now that that is beat in, I'm also going to add white vinegar. So you need white vinegar to make buttermilk, but regardless for this recipe, you need white vinegar. So this is definitely a recipe where I would not buy buttermilk. I would just use some vinegar on the regular milk to make buttermilk, and then also use the same vinegar in the rest of the recipe. So for a double batch of this recipe, I will need 1 teaspoon of white vinegar. So I'm going to very carefully add this vinegar. Perfect. If you not have a steady hand, do not add the vinegar over your mixture like I just did. So now I'm going to add my the red food coloring. So I use the gel food coloring because you can use so much less to get a pretty color, but it is still strong, right? So I take a little toothpick, mine is almost out, but I take a little toothpick and basically deposit it into the bowl, into the mixture as best I can. And then I repeat this process with new toothpicks, of course, to get to the desired color. So I started out with just a little bit, so I'm going to mix this and see what color it comes out. Now that your mixture is at a level of red, mine isn't super red, but you make yours more red. I am just dealing with what I have. My food coloring is not the best today. So now I'm going to alternate the rest of the ingredients. So if you remember, we have our egg whites, we have our flour mixture, and we have our buttermilk, right? So we're going to alternate the dry and the wet right now. So I'm going to start with about a third of the dry mixture. And slowly add in the buttermilk. So now we're down to the last part, and you'll need a spatula for this. I'm going to use this spatula that has a slightly flexible tip. And now all you have to do is add your egg whites. So the directions say to beat these in by hand, but if you are gentle, you don't really need to do it by hand. Also, my egg whites are a little bit more stiff than the recipe called for, so they can take a beating. So, but you're going to see I'm going to gently incorporate and then finish it off by hand. So start on like the lowest. So I'm on the stir setting. And I'm just going to incorporate, kind of do most of the work with the mixer. And then at this point, I'm going to stop. So I'm not going to like take it all the way there. So I'm going to stop here. It's really important that the egg whites do not get over mixed in, because the egg whites act as part of your leavener. I think I mentioned that before. So if you beat all of the air out of the egg whites, first of all, you've wasted your time. And secondly, you also will negatively affect how pretty these will puff up. Like a nice cake should. Oop. Try to get as much of this off as I can. So these are more like a mauve, if you remember that word from the 90s, mauve velvet cake instead of red. But it does get darker when you bake it, of course. So right now what I'm doing is just mixing towards the bottom of the bowl with these stand mixers. They are very notorious for leaving some good stuff at the bottom of the bowl. So I'm just trying to get everything incorporated, and now I'm going to stop. So everything is incorporated, but I'm going to resist the urge to keep mixing, and now I'm going to act somewhat quickly and get them in the oven. So let's start with our cupcake pan. So here's my cupcake pan, and I have my little Santa themed cupcakes. Cupcake liners, how cute. Like, can you even? So I'm not exactly sure how many this will make, but I will show you my technique and we will find out together. The recipe says it will make 14, and I doubled it to hopefully get to at least 28. So I'm going to stop right there and then pull out my cookie scoop. This is actually, I think, an ice cream scoop. So I'm using this size. I will figure out the exact size of this. It says 18/8, but I'll figure out the exact size. And then it says 24 in here. But anyway, I'll figure out the exact size and link it down below. So now I'm going to take my ice cream scoop thing and try to be as consistent as possible. All right, so we still have a long way to go. So I'm going to get all of these into the cupcake pan and then get them in the oven at 350. So I will be back. So now we're ready to move on to our frosting. So doubling the recipe that I'll link down below gave me 36 cupcakes, and I ate one. And it tastes great. 10 out of 10. Cannot recommend enough. So anyway, so now we're ready to move on to our frosting. So the frosting, the hard part is done. The hard part is done. So all we need for the frosting. So I made this frosting yesterday for another cake, and I had some left over. So I'm only going to make one batch of the cream cheese frosting that I'm going to link down below. So for your cream cheese frosting, all you really need to do is like throw stuff in the mixer and beat it, or beat it by hand. So I am using my the metal bowl and the paddle attachment. I will link this paddle attachment down below. It works really well with KitchenAid mixers. I think they also make KitchenAid brand paddle attachments like this now that has the rubber part on the side to scrape the bowl. But if you buy one of these, please be aware that this only works with the metal bowl. In the glass bowl, it's a little bit too wide and it hits the sides. So just FYI, if you only have the glass bowl, don't buy one of these. But with the metal bowl, or buy one of these from KitchenAid. Like, this is an aftermarket thing that I've had for years. So anyway, getting back to our cream cheese frosting, I'm using this because it is very helpful with getting everything mixed together with the frosting. And it's useful for beating the air into the frosting as well. So I have my 1 block of cream cheese. So 1 block is 8 ounces. And this is just regular old Philadelphia cream cheese, and it is softened. You can see, you can tell it's softened. So I'm just going to put that in the mixer. And then we need 8 tablespoons of unsalted butter that is also room temperature. So I have my stick of butter here. Mine got a little bit too warm, but it's still softened, so it's good enough. So we're fine. So yeah, that's all you need with those two. So we have 8 tablespoons of butter, 8 ounces of cream cheese. And the first thing we're going to do before we add the sugar is mix these two together. So we're going to beat these two together for about 2 minutes. Now that we've let our butter and cream cheese mixture come together, now I'm going to start adding the sugar. And after you add the sugar is when you can really let it kind of beat for a while to incorporate air. And incorporating the air will give you a nice little fluffy texture. So I need 3 cups of confectioner sugar. You might also see it called powdered sugar at the store. So it'll look like this. It'll look very fluffy, so you can tell the difference. So I had another bag, so I'm just trying to use that up. So let me top this off for my first 1 cup. I'm gonna be gentle as not to waste this stuff. Everything is so expensive these days, y'all. What's happening? So that's a little bit shy of 1 cup, and that's fine. I will even it out later. So I'm going to start with 1 cup and start to beat it in. And start the mixer on slow so you do not end up wearing your powdered sugar on your face. So for this cup, I'm going to add just a little bit more so to even it out. So this is my 2nd cup, and I'm going to let that get incorporated. And now this is my 3rd cup. So I'm going to put my 3rd cup of sugar in there. And at this time, I'm also going to add my vanilla. So I need 1 whole teaspoon of vanilla. I have put my teaspoons in the dishwasher now. So I'm going to be a little adventurous and just add in 1 teaspoon. And actually, I'm going to use my vanilla bean paste. Let me show you that. So this is my vanilla bean paste. I will link this down below. This is really nice to use. The flavor is a bit more intense. And you can also see the little specks of the vanilla bean pod. And this is nice to use when your frosting is white, especially because people can actually see that they're eating vanilla bean paste. And people are always very impressed by that. So if they know what it is, some people, they don't know. It is fine. But if they do know what's happening, what's going on, then they are very impressed when they see those little specks in their frosting. So I'm going to use my 1 teaspoon of vanilla bean paste. I think I was a little bit generous with it, and that's totally fine. A little vanilla did not hurt anybody. And then you need 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. Do not skip the salt, because salt actually helps your tongue taste sweetness properly. So make sure to never skip the salt in your dessert, your savory dishes. And so now I'm going to let this go for probably a long time. I will tell you how long it takes, but I'm going to start it and let it go, and I'll be right back. There she goes. This is what the frosting looks like after it has been beating for about 3 minutes. So don't be afraid to let it really beat for quite a while. And just to give you a better look at how when you beat the air in it, it kind of just turns white. It starts to get lighter and lighter and lighter. So you really want to just beat it. If you beat it a lot, then you kind of can get that like bakery fluffiness, that really nice mouthfeel that you get from a baked good that you got from the bakery. Fantastic. All right, so now that we have our cream cheese frosting all beat together, I'm just going to add in, because I have so many cupcakes, I'm going to add in this frosting from that I made yesterday. So I put it in the refrigerator, so it's a little bit cold, but I did let it kind of come to room temperature. So I'm going to add this in here now. And this is, of course, not in the recipe. This is just me showing my reality. This is not a professional cooking show. This is what we call a reality, boys and girls. So I'm just pushing it down, and I'm going to, so for you, if you don't have leftover frosting to beat in, you stop at the point where I've shown you. But I'm not sure if you can tell, you can see like more of the today frosting on the back and the older frosting on the front. So you can tell that like when it's been freshly beat, that it is quite light. So now everything is done. It's just time to assemble. So I'm going to take my frosting off of the mixer. And give you another look. Look at how beautiful. It's absolutely perfect. So proud of this. So let's get this all off of the beater. All right, so now we have all of our frosting So at this point, you can frost the cupcakes however you would like. I'm going to use a piping bag just to try to make them a little bit more consistent. And I'm going to use my favorite tip. This is I think it's a Wilton number 20. Yeah, 20. I think that's what this says, a Wilton number 20. I think it's called a star tip. So I'm going to use that. Don't quote me on the name. I will link it below. And the tip with these is just to cut less, maybe a little bit less than you think you might need. Because if you cut too far, then the tip will slip through the hole and you have to start over with another bag. But if you don't cut enough, you can just snip a little bit more. And look, that's perfect. I'm so proud of myself. So I am going to transport my cupcakes in a couple of these little just foil tins. I try to bring them back home after I come back from the place where I am volunteering, but if I don't get them back, it's not the end of the world. So let's fill this up with cupcakes now. All right, so now we are ready to pipe. So I'm just going to use a kind of modest amount of frosting. These are the tiniest little bags. Make sure to buy yourself a bigger bag. I will link them below. But yeah, these little bags, I think these are more like for cookies. It's not really for frosting cake because the amount that they can hold is so minuscule. So just do your best. If you shake, it kind of helps to jiggle the frosting down to remove the air bubbles. All right, so we're ready to go. So at the top, we just twist. And look at that, it's beautiful. So I just start at the, oh my God, y'all, look at how pretty. I just start in the middle and do a little swirly swirl. I'm not putting too much frosting, so I wanna make sure I have enough. And sometimes people like all the frosting, and sometimes, a lot of times actually, they don't love a lot of frosting. So it doesn't have to be perfect, but there you go. So I'm going to frost the rest of my cupcakes and I'll be right back. Here are the finished cupcakes. They turned out great. They were pretty and they were very well received. Make sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one. Bye.